I don't tell this one much. Not because it's dramatic. It isn't really. It's just that when I do tell it, people wait for the part where something jumps out, and there isn't a part like that. And then they look at me like I've wasted their time. So I stopped. But you asked. And it's been on my mind lately, so. My uncle had a boat. Nothing fancy. A 22-foot cabin cruiser. Older. The kind of thing that always smelled a little like gas and sunscreen and the mildew from the cushions that never fully dried. He kept it on a reservoir a couple hours north of where we lived. Big reservoir. The kind where you can be out in the middle and the shore is just a grey line and you can't really tell one part of it from another. He passed a few years before this happened, and the boat sort of got handed down to me, which was more responsibility than I wanted, honestly. I didn't really know how to take care of it, but I'd grown up going out on it with him, so I knew how to drive it and dock it, and I knew the reservoir okay. Well enough. That's a thing I keep coming back to. I thought I knew it well enough. So this was late September. I want to say a Tuesday, because I remember taking the day off work and feeling guilty about it, which you only do on a weekday. Off-season, basically. The reservoir empties out after Labor Day. In summer there'd be 40 boats out there, jet skis, people. By late September you might see 2 other boats the whole day, and half the time it's just fishermen who leave before noon. I went alone, which my wife didn't love, but she was working and I just wanted to be out there. It had been a hard year, and the boat was the one thing that still connected me to him, and I hadn't taken it out all season, and I felt bad about that too. Lots of guilt in this story, now that I say it out loud. The morning was fine, genuinely nice. Cold enough that I had a jacket on, flat water, that low gold light you get in fall. I motored out maybe 40 minutes to a cove on the far side that he used to like, cut the engine, and just sat there, had a sandwich, read a little, the kind of quiet where you can hear the water tapping the hull and a bird somewhere, and that's it. Around, I don't know, 1:30, I noticed another boat. That's it. That's the first thing. A boat. It was maybe half a mile off, out toward the open water. Small, like mine. Hard to make out details. And I want to be clear that a boat on a reservoir is the most normal thing in the world. I didn't think anything of it. I actually remember feeling a little pleased, like, oh good, someone else appreciates a Tuesday. I read for a while longer. When I looked up again, it was closer. Not close, but closer. And that's still nothing, right? Boats move, except I noticed I hadn't heard an engine. And out there, in that quiet, you hear engines. You hear them a long way off, this low drone that carries over the water, and I hadn't heard one. The boat had just gotten nearer, somehow, in the time I was looking down at a page. I told myself the wind was carrying the sound away from me, which was possible. There was a little breeze by then. That's a real thing! Sound and wind on water, so I let it go. I decided to head to a different spot. Not because of the boat. I just wanted to move. But I'll be honest, that I remember the decision feeling slightly weighted, like I was moving away from something rather than toward something. And I remember being a little annoyed at myself for thinking like that. Started the engine, moved maybe 15 minutes along the shoreline to another cove, cut it again. Nice spot. Trees came right down to the water. And I sat there and got settled, and after a while, I don't know how long, I looked up, and the boat was out past the mouth of that cove. Same boat! I'm fairly sure it was the same boat. Same size, same sort of dull white color, and now it had a person on it that I could see standing up, though I couldn't make out anything about them. Just a shape, standing, facing my direction, not doing anything, not fishing that I could tell, just standing. And okay, Here's where I start to sound paranoid, and I know it, and I knew it then, which is part of why I didn't do anything for so long, because everything had an explanation. Two people on the same reservoir, on the same day, are going to end up near each other sometimes. Coves are where you go. Of course, another person went to a cove. Of course, they were standing up. People stand up on boats. It's such an ordinary picture that to be afraid of it felt insane. But I noticed I'd stopped reading, and I noticed I was very aware of where the shoreline was, and how far it was, and that in that particular cove, the trees meant there was no road, no houses, nothing behind me. And I noticed I'd started thinking of the water between me and that boat as a distance rather than as scenery. That's the thing I remember most clearly. The water changed from something I was floating on into something measuring how long it would take someone to reach me. I gave it a while. The boat didn't come in. It drifted out there, past the mouth. I told myself I was being ridiculous, and I actually said something out loud, I think, like, "Come on," to myself, the way you do. Then I raised the anchor and started up and headed back out toward the main body of the water to make my way home. And the boat, when I came out of the cove, was not where it had been. It had moved. It was now between me and the direction of the marina. Not blocking me, nothing that dramatic. There was all the room in the world, but it was on that line, and it started moving when I started moving. I could see now that its engine was going. There was a little wake, and it took a heading that kept it roughly parallel to me, off to my right, maybe a quarter mile, matching my speed in that loose way where you can't prove anyone's matching anyone because we're both just headed the same general direction, which is the only direction there is, toward the marina, because that's where everybody goes. I sped up. My uncle's boat isn't fast, but I opened it up more than I normally would. And the other boat sped up, and I told myself, again, honestly, that of course it sped up. It's the afternoon, everyone heads back around the same time, we're both just going home. But I stopped believing it. I can't tell you the exact moment. There wasn't one. It was more that the explanations kept working, and I stopped being comforted by them. Every single thing that boat did was normal, and I was terrified. And both of those were true at the same time, and that's the part that's hard to explain to people. Nothing happened, nothing you could point to. A boat went the same way I did. I did something then that I still feel stupid about. I had my phone, but there was basically no signal out in the middle, one bar that came and went, and I didn't call anyone because what would I even say? A boat is near me. They'd ask if it was doing anything, and I'd have to say no, so I didn't call. I just drove, and I kept looking over at it, and it stayed with me. That same quarter mile, all the way across the open water. 20 minutes, 25, which does not sound long, but is an extremely long time to watch a boat that you have decided is watching you. As we got closer to the marina side, where the shore comes in and there are a few docks and a boat ramp, the other boat peeled off, just angled away, north, toward the far end, and throttled up and went, and within a few minutes it was a dot, and then it was gone around a point. And I want to tell you, I felt relief, but mostly I felt like I'd made the whole thing up. I docked, tied off with my hands not quite steady, and sat in the truck in the parking lot for a while, feeling like an idiot. A man in a boat went across a lake at the same time as me, and I'd nearly had a heart attack about it. That's the story I told myself driving home, and it held up pretty well for about a week. Here's the part I don't have an explanation for, and it's the reason I still think about it, and it's not much, so temper your expectations. The marina has a little office, and the guy who runs it, older guy, knew my uncle, and I stopped in a week or so later to pay for the season and just to be around it, honestly. And I mentioned, kind of laughing at myself, that I'd been out on a Tuesday and there'd been almost nobody there, just me and one other boat. And he said something like, "Oh yeah, weekdays this time of year it's dead." And I said something about the other guy, the boat that had been near me all afternoon, described it a little, the dull white one. And he looked at his logbook, because you sign in and out at that marina, you write your slip and your time, it's an insurance thing. And he flipped back, and there was me, signed out at 8:40 in the morning, back in at 4:15, and there was nobody else. No one signed out that day. No one signed in. I was the only boat that launched from that marina the entire day. Now, there are other places to put in. There's a public ramp on the north end, the direction that boat went, and you don't sign anything there, so somebody absolutely could have launched from there, and I'd never know. That's the explanation, and it's a good one, and it's probably true. But it means whoever it was put in from the far end, all the way across, and came all the way down to where I was, to the exact cove I was in, and then spent the afternoon a quarter mile off my side, and then when I got close to people, turned around and drove all the way back to the far end again, which is a long way to go, on purpose, and it means I was right the whole time that I'd told myself I was being crazy. It means the thing that felt like it was following me, and I'd talked myself out of it for hours, because being followed was too strange to believe, and having a normal day was so much easier. That's it. That's the whole thing. Nobody touched me. Nothing happened. I've told you all of it. I still go out on the boat. I don't take it out alone anymore, and I tell myself that's about safety in general, life jackets, mechanical stuff, the sensible reasons. But the truth is I don't like the middle of the reservoir now. That part where the shore is just a grey line and every direction looks the same. Out there, you can see anyone coming for a long, long time. And I used to think that was the safe part, that you'd see them coming. Now I think that's the worst part. You see them the whole time. You watch it happen for 25 minutes, and there is nowhere to go, because it's water, and it's all just water in every direction, and the only place to run to is the one place they already know you have to go.